Prepare for your next .NET and C# interview with our essential advice. We'll go through some of the interview questions you might be asked and how to answer them. That's to come later in the video, but first we need to make sure we're applying for the correct jobs. Before getting a job, you need to find some jobs that are suitable for you and that you're qualified for. Here are some things to consider. You had a bad day at work, or maybe you're not fulfilled with the technology stack that you're working with. It's common to think that you've had enough in your job, but ask yourself if you really want to move on from your current position. Think about the things that you like and dislike in your current role and see if they're good enough reasons to find something new. You don't want to go through the whole job interview process only to find that you didn't want to move on in the first place. Think about the salary range for your next job. Do you want a 10% increase on your current salary, or maybe a 20%? When looking for jobs, see if it comes with a salary range and see if it meets your expectations. If it doesn't, move on to the next job. However, if you're seeing consistent salary ranges across the board, that's probably the market rate for your job in your current area. The pandemic forced a lot of us to work from home. However, a number of companies have issued return to office mandates where they expect you in the office 2 or 3 days a week. In some instances, they might expect you to go in for the full 5-day week, which is what's happening with the UK health and beauty retailer and pharmacy chain Boots. Think about your ideal location to work. Do you want to be working from home 100% of the time? Or will that get too lonely and would you prefer to be with your work colleagues a couple of times a week? Have a look at the job description and see if that matches. If it's an on-site or hybrid position, have a look to see where it's located and see if you're able and willing to commute there. Be careful with ambiguous information if you want to work from home 100% of the time. Some job adverts say that they're remote when you're searching for them, only to find out in the job description that they are in fact a hybrid position. So here's a classic example of this. So I've done a search for lead software engineer and I've selected remote as the location. It's come up with this remote position, but if I have a look a bit further down in the job description, it says it's on a hybrid basis. So just be careful with these job adverts and seek clarity from the person who posted the job advert if you're not sure. Go through the job description and see if the job matches what you want to do and what you're qualified for. Most job adverts will list all the technologies that they expect you to use in that role. Also check to see if there's any front-end or DevOps experience expected for the role and whether it's something you want to do. Once you've found a job that you're suitable for, you'll need to apply for it. You'll probably have to fill out a form with some personal details and attach your resume to it. If you want some tips on how to improve your resume, you can watch our video. There's a link for it in the YouTube video description. Some job applications are several pages long with several forms to fill in. If there's several forms in there, just ask yourself if you really want to go through all that hassle to apply for a job. Congratulations, you got an interview. The first stage is normally with a recruiter or a representative from HR. This is an opportunity for them to tell you a bit more about the role, your roles and responsibilities, and the location of the job. It's also an opportunity for you to ask some questions about the job, and here are some things that you need to find out. The recruiter should ask you what your salary expectations are at this stage. Think very carefully about this number, as the number you give here will be the maximum amount that you're likely to be offered should you be successful. It's not uncommon for companies to offer 10% less than this number, so think very carefully about this. Also think about this number and think whether you're going to be happy with it in 2 or 3 years' time. Unless you're lucky enough to get a quick promotion, you'll likely be subjected to small yearly increases on your salary and maybe a small bonus. But if the company is having financial issues, you might not get any increase at all. So just think about this number, as it will be difficult to negotiate upwards at the offer stage. Be realistic though. If you're a junior developer, you're not going to get paid the same amount as a senior developer that's got 10 years experience. Likewise, if the job comes with a salary range, the higher amount is likely to be the maximum amount that's going to be paid for that job. Find out what technology stack you'll be expected to be working on, and find out what versions of .NET and C# they are using. Also find out if there's any legacy systems lurking about, such as .NET Framework applications or maybe an ancient classic ASP application. Recruiters aren't usually technical-minded people, so they might need to refer to the hiring manager before getting back to you. If you're currently employed, the recruiter may ask you what your notice period is in your current job. Make sure you have this information to hand by checking your job contract or asking your manager. Should you be successful in the job, Your current company may expect you to work out your notice period and leave relevant handover notes. Ensure you find out from the recruiter as to where you're expected to work. If you've applied for a fully remote position, make sure that it's 100% remote. And if it's an on-site or hybrid position, find out where the location is as to where you need to commute to. Most .NET and C# interview processes are at least 2 stages long. This is likely to consist of a face-to-face interview and some sort of technical test. However, some companies really like to drag this on and have separate meetings with the CEO, the CTO, and HR. Treat the interview process like an elimination tournament. If you lose one stage, you're out of it for good and you're not going to get a job. If there's more stages, the more likely you are to be eliminated and the less likely you are to get a job offer. As a rule, if there's more than 3 stages, unless it's a company you really want to work for or the money is out of this world, I suggest you move on to the next job. Recruiters are salespeople and can be very persuasive as they want to fill the role as soon as possible. However, if you know there's something not right with the job, whether it be the description or the salary, see if there's any room for negotiation. If there isn't, be prepared to move on to the next role. One of the next stages in the interview process is likely to be a face-to-face interview with the hiring manager and some members from the technical team. This is an opportunity for them to tell you more about the job description, your roles and responsibilities, and what technology stack you'll be working on. It also gives them an opportunity to ask questions about you, and here are some of the popular questions that might get asked. Tell me about yourself. This is an opportunity for you to talk about your career to date. How did you get into the industry? Did you start off working with classic ASP applications before moving to web forms, MVC, and then eventually ASP.NET Core Web APIs? Also think about all the projects that you've worked on in the past and what your roles and responsibilities were. Maybe you're in charge of the CI/CD pipelines, or maybe you're in charge of the data structure. Give as much information as you can so the hiring manager can have an idea as how you can be suited to the job. Why do you want to work for this company? Before the interview, have a look at the job description and see what stands out. Maybe they're using an up-to-date technology stack, or maybe you'll get some exposure to DevOps. Maybe they're throwing in a bit of Docker and Kubernetes. When answering this question, try and focus on the job roles and responsibilities and not the money and benefits. Why do you want to leave your current role? This is a difficult question because you don't want to be too negative in your response. Maybe the money is too low, or maybe you don't really get on with your manager, but try and keep it to the job roles and responsibilities that you have little or no control over. Maybe you want to work with the latest .NET version, but your company's main system is using .NET Framework and they have no ambitions in upgrading the technology. Or maybe you're a full stack developer and you've been forced into technologies that you don't really want to use, like the company you're applying for is using Angular, which is more up your street. It could also be that you've just got too comfortable in your role and you're not really learning anything new. Before the interview, try to think of the reasons as to why you want to leave your current position. What challenges have you faced? In our work life, we've all had to deal with extreme challenges. Maybe there's a short time frame to get a critical piece of work completed. Or maybe a system is having critical issues that you had to deal with. Think about these issues and also think about disagreements that you've had with your team in the past and how you came to a resolution. Maybe your team wanted to use NUnit, but you wanted to use XUnit. Before the interview, think about these challenges so you can share them with the hiring manager. The hiring manager is likely to ask you if you've got any questions for them. Before the interview, you can make a list of all the questions and have them to hand, as most interviews take place through video call. Here are some of the questions you can ask. What other systems are used in the company and what technology stack do they use? Are there any background or cron jobs that get run? What database do you use? What unit testing framework do you use? How do you handle end-to-end and regression testing? What is the procedure for deployments? Do you use CI/CD pipelines? How often do deployments take place? What project management tool do you use? If they use Scrum, how often are the sprints, and is there a kickoff retrospective meeting alongside a daily Scrum? Sometimes the hiring manager will leave a section at the end to ask questions. Other times they'll do it earlier on. If there's an opportunity earlier on, see if you can seize the opportunity and be the main person to ask questions to the hiring manager, rather than the other way around. As well as a face-to-face interview, you're likely to have some sort of technical test. Watch this video next where I guide you through some of the technical interview questions and how you can answer them. And if that all goes well, you're likely to get a good job offer and you can move on to something that's more suitable for what you want to do.